Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Another day, another dollar, man. And this main event, let's just jump fucking right into it head first. It was anticlimactic. That's the word that everybody's using out there. And I thought it was a pretty solid fight for the first two rounds. You know what I mean? Rakic was showing like his ground game as well as his stand up and pretty much dominating in both aspects. What did you see, Dan? What did you see before the injury happened?
Yeah, I feel like Rakic. Well, you could really see that cut in Jan's eye was starting to frustrate him or starting to affect him. Like that is about as worst place as you can possibly get a cut in combat sports. That's why you're gonna go back and you just look at the cut man's face. So it's like everyone else is like, doctor, let it slide, like referee, let it slide. But when a cut man like puts a towel on and just like looks at like the other cut man and it's just like you could just look at his eyes and be like, oh, this is gonna be a problem, you know what?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, just one of those things, just a freak injury. I've seen it in the gym. Like I've seen people do stuff like that in the gym, but for it to happen, for it to happen in a main event fight when you're like your title contention main event, for that to
Yeah.
happen then it's just man, it's heartbreaking.
It is. You got to feel for Rakic, man. He's a guy that's been fighting and clawing his way up that light heavyweight division, and to get the main event spot against a former
Mm.
champ, and then not even get to show what you really wanted to show. Because it looked like he was on his way to winning that fight. Um, it must be, yeah, like you said, it's heartbreaking for Jan. Can you? I don't know if you could celebrate this win. You know what I mean? Like you could call for a title shot. That's what you should do, but celebrating a win like this, I think that they should. I don't think Jan's gonna get a title shot. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't think Jan's gonna get a title shot. Right? He's close, but I don't think he's gonna get one. I feel like they should run this back. If Rakic's knee is not completely just.
He ain't he ain't running anything back. What are we gonna wait? What are we gonna wait a year and run it back? Like man, his knee for his knee to just buckle like that. Like that's not that just that just popped. That wasn't something a little bit hurt or a cramp. You just iron it out. That his knee popped. Like he's going to be gone for a while. So running it back, I don't think is going to be your your safe bet. But of course, he wins though. At the end of the day, he wins. He gets the job done. Like that goes down on his record as a TKO. Like that's as of course is anticlimactic, but it's the fact. It's the fact of the matter. He wins. It was a title in a fight. He wins. He should reap all of those rewards. Like just because that a freak accident happened doesn't mean he should be somehow punished by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never looked at a rematch as a punishment, but it kind of possibly could be a punishment, what I mean, for some people in certain situations. Yeah, he from there's what's cool about there's a lot of shitty things about Twitter and stupid things, but one thing cool about Twitter is that there are like medical professionals out there now that like are real professionals. You know what I mean? They got degrees and shit that
Yeah,
actually analyze the injuries of fighters, and they look at it with a specialized eye and say like, oh, I, because one of the guys, he was saying that he saw like the one part of their leg pop out, which means like the MCL was torn. I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I'm just saying, like, they're professionals, so I have to believe them,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it
yeah.
looks
Like
like he did tear something.
people always injure themselves in the gym, and they look at me and they're like, "Oh, have you ever tore your ligaments in your hand?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, how do I fix it?" I'm like, "I'm not a doctor." You know what I mean? Like I'm a fighter. I just ignore things until they go away. That's like the oh, I have an injury. I will just stop using it and I will just ignore it until it gets better. I am not a medical expert, but it is pretty cool, like having all these people on Instagram and stuff like that. Yeah, because Twitter is a pretty hostile place at times. So to have people where you're like just that sharing actual information with each other is like a very cool. Um, so very cool. That's like what MMA news used to be. You know what I mean? It used to be when I first started. It was you go on the MMA website and it's just like this fighter's sharing a technique. This fighter's sharing a bit of his nutrition, or this is this guy's favorite exercise for his shoulders. Like it was just like sheer information. But as it went more into like a mainstream sport and was like more popularized and things like that, then obviously like the things tend to go more towards like clickbait kind of headlines and going towards that. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool to get to be on Twitter and get smarter, not dumber. Is very cool.
Yeah, that's my goal every day is to wake up and and get a little smarter, not dumber. And usually Twitter's not gonna get you smarter, but yeah,
Usually it
I
doesn't
I
help,
think
you know.
it does. It doesn't. I think ESPN or somebody should like hire one of these guys, right? I think Chael was trying to hire, or he was doing a show maybe with one of those guys that are medical professionals and they know injuries really well. But yeah, I think they should have somebody like part of the broadcast that can kind of explain. Let's say someone's coming off a knee injury. Or let's say someone's coming, like they could bring somebody in for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds to just give a little bit of background information of like why that was difficult or what they went through. I think it would do a lot of it would educate a lot of people watching the fights. You know what I mean? To know like
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
going on.
that would be a cool. They got Din Thomas. He's like a pretty cool addition. They need
Yeah.
who can be the medical. They're gonna need Dr. Phil on standby, just throwing his tidbits in. But
Dr.
it would be
Dre,
like a cool addition because there are so many. Yeah, like it's hard for people at home to really understand some of the injuries that the guys come through. Like I had no idea that Michael Johnson, who fought and got that massive knockout, um, I had no idea that he was out 3 back-to-back surgeries. Because obviously every fight event I'm going, where's Michael Johnson? Like I love watching Michael Johnson fight. He puts on
yeah.
some of the most entertaining fights. So to see him come back and just to look as sharp and as fast and as quick as he's ever been was very cool.
Yeah, hopefully, Rakic, nothing is too badly torn. You know what I mean? Maybe he could shorten the return. Who knows? We've seen crazy things happen in the sport where guys return or women return so fast off injuries. So hopefully it's all good for Rakic. But yeah, it's just like Rakic gets put on the shelf. Now Jan, you push Jan forward or it pushes other people forward, but just, it's bad for Rakic, but good for other people. This is the game that they play or you play. What was it?
You playing now? I see
Man,
you
what was I
playing
thinking?
now, and you're looking. Thailand. You're looking right now, my friend. You got the hair. You got the tan. You now got the muscle
Yeah,
shirt. Couldn't be more Thailand. Look
the
at me sitting here
transformation.
look at me sitting here in a sweatshirt. How about we trade places? I'll come. I'll go to Thailand. I'll go. We'll switch spots. I'll go Thailand. You come here.
We're gonna do that. What would they call it? The wife swap or whatever. There's
Wife
a TV
swap.
show. Yeah, like they would go to different families and shit, and they just that shit was funny to watch. So I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, something like that. Well, speaking of injuries, man, like me being in this situation of like training, and I'm not even fully into like a training camp yet. I'm just like getting into the swing of things, And when fighters would say like, yeah, like I'm a close to 100% I can be, which means like, they have like little minor injuries. And for a regular person, I don't think they understand what a minor injury means. You know what I mean? For a fighter, a minor injury could be something totally different than what we feel is a minor injury, right? Like like right now, I'm training and I have so-called niggles, right? Those niggles, like people are like, yeah, you got some little niggles and a little, little here, sore over here, sore over there. But I'm not a fighter. But me experiencing like the niggles now, like of what it means, like a bruised rib, my lower back hurts when I stand up. My right shoulder when I land punches, like it hurts. You know what I mean? Like I guess those are called niggles, Dan. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, oh man, my coach Carl Weber, he's called Coach Hostile for a reason. His favorite sayings, he used to scream at everyone as we were training, and he'd be walking around the room. Everyone's getting tired. There's people falling out and stuff like that, and he goes, uh, "If you're injured, fuck off. If you're hurt, get the fuck up." Like that's the only two. You either hurt and injured. I think people get them confused sometimes. They're like, "Oh, I've got an injury." Me as a fighter, like if I go to my physio or I go to the doctor or something, and I say this is fucked or this hurts, if I keep using it, they'll teach me how to move around it or how to work around it. They'll just be like, "Well, you can throw straight punches with your hand, but you can't throw hooks. When you're wrestling, you can go overhook and you can whizzer, but I'd be careful. I'll be careful fighting for underhooks with like. So you just get like, if I can work around it, then I'm not concerned. I'll consider that I'm hurt. Injured to me it's completely unusable. If you break your arm, that's I can't use that anymore. Now I'm injured. Like you have to differentiate between being hurt and being injured, and that's why it's so good. So good having like that's why you need like a good physio. You need like a good you've got a good chiropractor. You need a good massage therapist. These professionals that understand your sport as well. Because I've worked with like physios in the past, and you go to them first, and they're kind of they'll say, "Oh, just take 5 days off." And you're just looking at them like, and I just smile, and I'm just thinking, it doesn't work like that. Like I can't show me how I can work around it. If it hurts, I'll push through. But you show me how I'm not gonna make this any worse. Taking time off is that's impossible. That's just I'll go to another physio if you tell me to take time off. Tell me how I can work with it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. To me, like a regular person, I'm a regular person. Like the other day, I kind of tried to like muscle out of a position, and I felt like some like pulling on my neck to my trap area, and I knew like fuck. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna wake up and my neck, this area of my neck is gonna fucking hurt. And then the next day, I woke up and it was just like, oh fuck, like I gotta go do something. Because for a regular person, you wake up like that, you're like, oh shit, I gotta go to the doctor. I got fucked up, right? Like for a fighter, it's like, let's go see what the physio says. And if he says the wrong thing,
warm it up.
yeah, warm it up. Yeah, that's right. Another thing is important is warming up. Like warming up is so important. I didn't even fucking realize that. You know what I mean? Like before I used to just play basketball, just run on the court and just start fucking playing. But in fighting or just any kind of MMA stuff, you do need to warm up those fucking like those body parts, whatever you're gonna use.
Same,
right?
brother. I was 18 when I started this, and comparing like the what you used to do at that age compared to now is quite funny. Like I probably wouldn't even have known what a physio was when I first started fighting professionally at 19. Like would it not known what any of these things were? Physio, chiropractor, anything like that. Used to just put the MMA gloves on, no hand ramps, smash Thai pads for an hour. You'd go to town, you'd have a night out, you'd finish town at 4, 5 in the morning, be back at training at 9. You're off 2 hours sleep. Like, oh, if I go out and I have a night till 3 a.m. now, I'll be in bed for a week. Like it doesn't work like that. Hands have got to be wrapped with the special wraps, and you got to see your physio to make sure everything's all right. You can't, just when you're the early days, you just take it for granted. 19, 20, I used to just take it for granted, man.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that is because also this week, like, I think I'm wrapping my hands wrong because like after I did mitts, like I could feel the tendons in my knuckles like hurting, and then I can't really like make a full fist for a couple of days. Like 2 days, I couldn't make a full fist at the last two knuckles because they were sore from hitting the pads. And I'm like, how's my knuckles sore from hitting pads, right? It's not like I'm hitting someone's face. And I guess it's just like my
It's just
hands are not conditioned.
it's just an accumulate. Nah, they're like, yeah, they just they like calcify over time. That's why mine have like they like grow.
Yeah.
My knuckles like haven't always been that big. Like you're just repetition. It'll like swell up, and you kind of feel like there's like it's a bit spongy or a bit of like fluid in there, and then it'll eventually just harden, and your knuckle like will start to calcify and start growing like a little bit bigger.
Yeah, man. Shit. I think this is insider shit that you guys don't even fucking get on the broadcast, right? It's just like, fucking hitting pads, your knuckles are sore and shit like that. But if some people train, they probably understand a little bit more. But yeah, man, it's just injuries suck, and I think every fighter goes into the fight hurt. Like you said, hurt is different from injured. They're somewhat hurt somewhere.
Yeah, like adrenaline cancels out a bit of that too. Like, or what? Even if I've gone into fights with like injuries, and you just once you get flowing, the punches start flying. Like the crowd, you hear the roar of that crowd. The adrenaline does like overpower a lot of that being injured kind of feeling and hesitation and self-doubt. Like once you step into the cage and you feel that adrenaline, it does like block a lot of that out. Now that doesn't mean that like it physically doesn't hurt in the fight. like it physically and a lot after. In reality, like you're just gonna make those injuries worse. But yeah, 20,000 people screaming at you definitely does make you feel less pain.
Well, less pain is always good. And you mentioned Michael Johnson, man. Like he fought really early in the card, and I was kind of surprised like how early he was fighting. But it is what it is, man. He came back and got a nice little second round knockout. Man, he's a guy that's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about him, but his hands, do they look like the fastest hands? Like it could be like one of the fastest hands in the UFC, like
Pretty
speed
quick.
wise.
He's pretty quick, man. He is. He's always had fast hands. Like he's always been a super quick puncher. Like very impressive. That guy is fighting. What's his name? Patrick. Yeah, he's been in the
Alan
UFC.
Patrick.
Yeah, Alan Patrick. Like he's been in the UFC. He's a cool guy. I met him a few times. He's like such an awkward style. Like Michael Johnson did a great job of dealing with it. Like he doesn't really engage with the hands. He's like got a capoeira background, like throwing spinning kicks, just jumping at you. Like he's a very awkward person to compete against. But it was cool to see Michael Johnson go out there and just be as sharp and as impressive as ever. And to get a knockout over a guy like that is he's back. He's back. How long would it have been since Michael Johnson last fought?
Fuck, let's see.
I know
his last fight was 2021.
And before that?
Before that, it was 2020, 2019. So he's lost four. He lost 4 in a row before this fight. And when you lose a few, people just dump on you and shit, and then you win one, and there everybody's like, "Yay!"
He's back,
Michael
baby.
Yeah, hey, he's back. But it's true though.
It's the sport of you're as good as your last fight. Like that's the reality of the sport. That's as far as people's memories go.
Yeah. If you look at his resume, it's just phenomenal. The names that he has competed against and the names that he has beaten. You know what I mean? Like
Poirier, Tony Ferguson.
Fuck.
He's a madman.
He is. Like he knocked out T-Bow, and T-Bow, that T-Bow was like, that was T-Bow back in the day, you know what I mean? Like, another guy with fast hands like Melvin Gillard, you know what I mean? He took him out. But yeah, he's a guy, I think he's one of those guys also. It's like he doesn't turn down fights. It's like you guys send a contract. He's ready.
That's why he's in this mess.
Yeah. That's why he's in this mess. Yeah, he is. But he won a bonus, so good for him, man. That was that's a good way to come back, to show that you're still here.
Let's,
He's
let's
35 years
save your
old, man. He's
pain.
not a young buck. He's not a young buck. And
What did he say? He wants to
Patrick
fight
is.
till he's 45. He said he wants to be in the UFC till he's 45.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, like how many 45-year-olds are in the UFC right now? If you think about it,
No, none. Or
none, right?
45. We
Like
got Glover's 40. Glover's
two.
42.
Yeah. Glover's the same age as
Couple in
me.
there.
Me
There's a
and
couple in
Glover
their
are the
40s.
same age. Think about that. He's like a month older than me, Glover is.
Whoa.
So if Glover can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean?
That's what I
He's
tell. That's
inspiring
what I
me.
tell myself. That's what I tell myself. He's
But
inspiring.
yeah,
You just look at him and you're just
yeah.
like, oh, you have to keep going. Like he did it at 42, man. What a ledge.
When you look at him, right, it looks like he's sustained a pretty good amount of damage to his body over the years. Being 42 years old and been training for so long, and he started in Brazil, but he was training at the pit with like the old school dudes that probably sparred every day. Every day, like every day was sparring session. There was like no techniques being learned, just like they're beating the shit out of each other. So like, imagine like the adjustments he's had to make in the last couple of years to his training regimen, to where it's like he's not injuring himself or hurting himself as much. Do you think that that's a thing right there? Like as you get older, you do have to like take things out, and you can't do certain
100%.
types of practice.
100%. But you need to have at some stage like gone through those hard rounds. But at like his age and his level of experience, is probably like not necessary. He probably only has like a small team of guys that he kind of trusts to not injure him. But you do see that. You see it with like Bernard Hopkins. He's like was
Yeah.
in his 40s, like still competing with the best guys in the world, and his morning session every morning was a pool session. So every morning, like his conditioning or fitness or mobility or was it was all in the pool. So all his it's just less strain on his body. Like he couldn't deal with 2 hard sessions a day, like sparring and track or this and that. Like he would still spar. But yeah, every day a pool session. So that's half his workload was like geared towards preserving his body.
Yeah, I wonder what Glover's doing, because you don't really ever see videos of him like training like extremely hard. Maybe he kind of keeps it quiet, keeps it secret, but you don't really see that too often from him. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see him fight in a couple of weeks. Can't wait to see him fight Yuri. What do you think about that fight?
Yeah, like Yuri's a madman. Like that's like the way that he that style is so awkward and is so like dangerous, but it's so, I feel like from my view, like Yuri's style is so dangerous to fight. Like his head is there, like he does big movements, like swing big, miss big. Just he hasn't been clipped yet, like that's just he's just been doing an incredible job, but it's very dangerous style in which he fights.
Yeah, it is. But we love him for it. You know what I mean? That's why people
have
are
to.
attracted to him.
That's why it's like a tornado.
Yeah, it's a tornado for sure. And the fight after Michael Johnson's fight was Viviane Araújo versus Andrea Lee, right? Did you see that first round where she knocked her down and then hit that head kick combination? It was a pretty slick like combination, and she almost finished her too. You know what I mean? Do you think she fucking, so to say, busted her load in the first round? You know what I mean? Like, because the second and third round, she got dominated really badly.
You can see she did tense up after that. Like she did, like even on her face after the grappling exchanges, like she was still like locked up and tense. Like it's very hard to, and that can only come from experience of being in those situations before. After you hurt someone, just to take your time, like take a step back and take like a breath. Like that actually takes. First time you drop someone, you're just like spaz out. Yeah, you just spaz out. You're just like locked up, tense. Like start thinking about uh what you're gonna wear to the after party. You're just like, and then when they survive that, it can only come from experience. When someone survives that and they're still there, you're like, oh, I didn't think this through. Next time. So now, like when you hurt or you see like more experienced guys like drop someone or hurt someone, like they calm it down, keep it calm, and just push their shots. Because yeah, you need to understand that whatever that other person gets, they're gonna go 100%. Like if they get a single leg, they're gonna use all of their energy to try and finish it. If you let them land a punch, they're gonna go all in on that punch because they're hurt. You corner a mouse, like he's gonna rear back and try and fight. Like it's the same thing. You're most dangerous when you're hurt. But yeah, it's a tough lesson to learn at that stage of your career, is staying calm. Um, Staying calm once you see someone's head bounce off the ground is very difficult.
Yeah, especially in the sport like this sport. There's some controversy coming out of that too. You know what I mean? Her corner after the first round, who is also a UFC fighter, Tony Kelly, a guy that I've interviewed many times in the past. Cool dude, like Southern, chill, relaxed dude. But very confident in his skills. Which is her boyfriend, Andrea Lee's boyfriend, and her corner. He said, "This is a quote. That's what they're going to do. They're dirty fucking Brazilians. They're going to fucking cheat like that." And I was like, first off, before we get into what he said, was Araujo cheating? I don't know.
I don't know what she did.
She was. Yeah, I don't know what she did. That's the question. I put that out on Twitter, and then people are just like, "No, Andrea Lee, she cheated twice in the first round when she grabbed the fence, and then she did something else right in the fight." And I'm like, did Araujo do something? I was confused by that, right? And then the fucking Brazilians cheating, like that's what they fucking do thing. I was like, why did he need to even say that? Why didn't he just say?
You didn't realize they were gonna tape a microphone to you. How hard is it to grab it, and then speak? Like, there's nothing they can do about it.
What? Yeah, like I heard there's some tricks to the trade. I've heard the tricks to the trade with the corner
tricks to
mics.
the trade. There are some tricks to the trade. I myself have never had a microphone.
There's some tricks to the trade. You know what I mean? Like if you've talked to people that corner people, and that leads into that conversation, they're just like, there's some tricks to the trade. I'm pretty sure some people just haven't realized.
You'll see it. Like any of those elite coaches. Like you're not gonna, if they're sharing like an intricate detail, like you're not gonna hear it. Like Eugene, you'll never hear him on a microphone in between. Even guys like Henry Hoof, like you hear him off someone else's microphone. You don't hear him like speaking directly. It's because these guys, it's like a private thing. It's a personal thing. You might have to say something to get the guy motivated. That's like pretty private or pretty personal. It's not. I understand that. Like me as a fan wants to hear it and wants to see it, but
what can you do? Yeah, but the thing is, like,
what can you do?
Once you do that, it's you shouldn't say things like that, and you can make mistakes with the words that come out your mouth. I don't want to label somebody anything. That's another thing, is I don't want to label. I mean, it's not acceptable, but I don't want to label him for anything. You know what I mean? Like, because there's people, like we just talked about Twitter. There's like 5% good and 95% just dog shit. And you know what happens? Like that happens. Twitter's going crazy about this guy, and he's a fucking racist. They're calling him all kinds of shit, right? It's like they label him already. And this is not like something like a repeated, like action, right? Like it's not like he's just been doing this all the time. And I've talked to Tony myself, what I mean, in interviews. But yeah, it's just. Yeah. And then did you see like people start digging up his past? Already, like Twitter's crazy. Like right away, you make a little mistake, they're like, "Oh shit, look at this article from 1952."
It's like I don't know. He was still in it. Like you, he's a fighter. Like you do kind of have like two modes where you're just very to the point, like very hostile, very like he was kind of in that mode. So I'm not trying, I'm just speaking in general, not trying to justify what he said or anything. But like fight gyms are a funny place. Like people,
Mhm.
they're like comedy. They're like comedy clubs. You know, like a comedy club. You can say something you can't say
Yeah.
anywhere else. So, to me, it's kind of like a fight gym as well. Like you're gonna hear some pretty stone cold truths when you walk
Mhm.
into a fight gym. If you got a big mole on your forehead, like people are gonna call you molehead. Like it's gonna be you're gonna get the hard road. But like the the beauty about a fight gym is that like if someone says something that pisses you off, like two, three times a week, you get to strap gloves on and try and punch that guy. And you're like that's like the advantage of it. So that's why everyone can just like get everything out on the table. You can say whatever you want to say because you're gonna have to knuckle up and you're still gonna have to fight about it. So maybe he was just like stuck in that mode, and people were kind of digging a bit deeper into it than they perhaps need to.
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of that shit. Like when I was younger, growing up and shit in America, it's a little bit more prevalent, I think, in the U.S. with the racism, right? Like straight up racism. Like I can't even count on my hands and toes like how many times I experienced it growing up. So it's not a big. I don't know when to say it's not a big deal, but it's something that I've become like numb to in a way. In some ways. And when I see something like this, I always want to give the benefit of the doubt to the person that they made a mistake, right? It's not something that they continue doing. So like from my perspective, so other people they react differently, right? I'm not telling other people how to react, but for me, I'm reacting to the point where it's just like let the dude explain himself because he could make a mistake. Just anybody. It's just in fighting, it doesn't matter. Like it could be anything. It could be on the street. I mean, just give them the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? Until it's like clear that this person is the R word and not retarded.
Where was
Yeah,
he from? Where was he from? They're from like
Louisiana.
from Louisiana. That's South,
You
right?
got
That's like deep
yeah.
South.
That's like Poirier and DC and Theo Vaughn and those types of people. That group right there. So it's kind of a pretty mixed bag, but whatever. But Andrea Lee, man, just going back to her performance, I thought she was gonna shock everybody at that moment. I was like, oh fuck, do it, do it. Like, I was
Mm.
cheering for her to finish the fight. I was like, this is a huge win for her. Like she could really catapult herself. And then Arujo's just too fucking tough. She just toughed that round out and then dug deep and just won the last 10 minutes of that fight. It was and more than actually the last 10 minutes of that. She won the last fucking 12 minutes of that fight. She just
Mm.
just grounded her and just
Turned up pretty
I don't
quick
know how
though.
much
It was
time.
like only what 10, 20 seconds after she got dropped, she just locks her
Mhm.
hands together, peels her off the cage, and dumps her down to the ground. Like that's like a statement in a fight. Like I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm still here and I'm back.
Yeah. Um have you been following any of the Nate Diaz like disciples, the fighters that come out of his gym? Have you noticed any of the
I don't watch
guys?
the guy that fought first on the card. Yeah,
Yeah.
he got. I didn't watch that fight. What happened to that one?
He got choked
The
out.
Nate Diaz disciple.
Yeah, the Nate Diaz or the Nick Diaz army disciple, Nick Maximoff, which he comes a little different. Like his style, his background's wrestling, not really more of the boxing or whatever, but a decent young prospect. You know what I mean? He doesn't suck. Like the other dudes that they signed, they sucked. Like the
What's
other
the other one
guys
that
that
ended
got
up
one.
the other one that ended up boxing on Jake Paul's? When
Exactly.
he ended up
We don't
boxing
know his
on,
name.
yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know his name. I have no idea who the fuck the dude is. But I think him and there was another dude that they signed for one fight deals, it looked like, in the UFC, and then they got cut after they lost. Like they got brutally knocked out, both of them, right? Um, And then there's what is it? But Nick Masimov, he's a decent prospect. I like him. I think he's good. But he went in there against Petrosky. Petrosky, he's like, I think he's like really close, not really close, but he's wrestled against Frank in college, or I think they
Oh
wrestled
yeah.
together. Yeah, so they know each other when they went
Oh
on the
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Ultimate
I've met
Fighter.
that kid. Yeah, I've met that
Yeah,
kid. Nice.
so yeah, he went in there, and Daniel Gracie, they're like all out of Daniel Gracie Academy in Philadelphia, like Petrosky, Sean Brady, Jeremiah Wells. They got a pretty decent, couple of guys in the UFC that are doing really well. So shout out to Daniel Gracie. It seems like he's doing magical things over there. Who else? Nick. You see, like everybody's stuck
Well,
on the
they have
Nick
like,
Diaz.
oh, because I obviously have like I've trained with people who have trained with them or been out there and spent some time with them training, and they just they don't train like other people train. Like they train it like Nate and Nick train it like weird hours. Like they'll like fuck around all day. You know what I mean? They'll like fuck around all day, smoking weed, playing video games, doing stuff before bike ride, and then be like, yeah, we're gonna go to the gym now, train at like midnight, and they'll just go till like midnight till like 2 in the morning, and then come back. Like that would just not work for me. So you can see how like a lot of just because it's right for like one guy doesn't mean it's gonna work for
Yeah,
everyone. Like Floyd Mayweather used to be the same, right? Like he used to train at midnight. Like he used to just go into the gym and train whenever he wanted. Like obviously he has the money to do that, but like me myself, I perform better in the morning. Like I do better with like a structured training regime. If you tell me I'm gonna train at 9 and I'm gonna train at 5, that's what I would prefer. So everyone like works different, and then looks like their system is well, yeah, their system's like not effective for like a majority of people. Like they're just two very unique cases.
if that was the case, like one coach that's really really good at his craft would just produce, like, let's say in boxing, which is one martial art isolated, like one coach would just produce fucking 15 to 16 20 fucking champions, right? Just because his system works. But sometimes it doesn't work on certain people. That's why you see fighters leaving, like like let's say Sanford MMA, right? A guy trains at Sanford MMA, and all of a sudden he decides to move to Frankie Edgar's gym with what is it? With Mark Henry, what I mean, his style. I mean, you saw that Eddie Alvarez did that. I mean, he went up there from Sanford or whatever else.
Yeah,
And is it a good move? You could say it was good if the results are good, right? Like if he wins his fights, then it's good. If he loses his fights, then it's like you know, there's so much that goes into it, right? It's just, you can't just look at the wins and losses. You got to look into everything. But I don't know, man. It's a trip, like how people just like set themselves up. Like certain fighters will like set themselves up, but at one point in your career, that is not good for you anymore. That's not what's gonna work for you anymore. So you gotta leave. But this loyalty thing, sometimes it could be a curse.
oh, for sure. I've seen a lot of like fighters' loyalty to a gym obviously kill their development if their coach can't give them what they need or what they require. But yeah, it's different in all different parts of the world. Like I learned that from going to the States and like training. It's more like it's just more of a business over there. Like once I got to the States, like it's like it's a legitimate business. Like it's a training at a gym is like a business transaction. Like you get your coach, and it's just a financial agreement that you have with them. Like obviously some gyms are different, and obviously like doing well and having a lot of students that are performing well obviously gets the ball rolling or gets the juices flowing for everyone. But it's
Yeah.
like not it's not similar to what it is like here in New Zealand. Here in New Zealand, it's really like fighting and fight gyms are not really that business minded or that business orientated. It's a lot of like every gym is kind of like a little like a family in its own community in itself, and it's yeah. So it was like it's just interesting going to all these different places. I guess when there's like that much money on the line, in like these UFC fights, it does. It just raises a few more questions, and that's why you see like all of these guys chopping and changing gyms so much. And also, I would say it's because of like you get asked questions, you get media. Like you show up to your fight, and if you lost your last fight, first thing they're gonna ask you is what have you changed. So like the easiest thing you can change, which is the easiest answer, is like, oh, the gym. I'm at this new gym with these new coaches, new like it's the easiest. It's like one of the easiest ways to get the monkey off your back. You know what I mean? Like then people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll believe in you now because you've changed this big thing. You've answered our question. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A big move recently was Brandon Moreno, and he just took him. I think him and his like close training partners. They were all training with a gym out in Tijuana, right? A team out in Tijuana, pretty big team, Mexican team. And then he left after he lost the title, his last fight, and went over to Glory MMA with James Krause and their stable of fighters, because man, they have so many fighters there, like probably 15 UFC guys, Bellator guys, or whatever, whatnot. That's a crazy one right there too. It's like the world fucking title you lost, and then you just left your gym and went to another gym, and then you're walking into an interim title fight. If you lose this one, then it's like, did you make a mistake and leave your holding? You know what I mean? Like it's that situation, and it's like you said, there's so much money on the line. You know what I mean? For even the coaches, you know what I mean? The coaches get a percentage of whatever six figures that these guys are making for title fights, right? So I feel bad for his last coach because he loses a big paycheck, right? Because he's heading into another title fight. I don't know, man. But let's talk about that fight, Brandon Moreno versus your teammate, Kai Carl France. I was saying to somebody, actually, I was saying to Frank, I was like, Frank, when you looked at everybody at City Kickboxing, most people would have probably said Kai would be the least likely to fight for the title in the UFC. And look what he's fucking doing right now. He's fighting for the fucking title. So he just fucking slapped the shit out of everybody that was fucking doubting him. And I love it, man, because Kai's a great dude. Like, I've been talking to him for so long, you know what I mean? And just to see everything come to fruition for him. And he's been saying it to me the whole time. Like, I'm going to fight for the title. I'm going to fight for the title. And it's like, it's happening. It must feel good for the team.
Oh, without a doubt. Like I've been training with Kai since he was like 15, 16. He was like a teenager when he started training at Strikeforce and started training MMA, and I was like doing the MMA coaching at the gym at the time. So yeah, to see him and to see where he's on now, like that kid has been through a terribly hard road. Like his path to get to where he is has just been mad. Like his first fight, yeah, was at like lightweight. He didn't even weigh that much. He went out there and like whooped a grown man. He has like a 17-year-old professional, went in there as a professional fight, just whooped like a grown man. Then he got like jacked up and he fought this guy, Chad George, who was like 23 and 2 or 23 and 3 for like his second that was like his second pro fight was against Bellator WEC vet Chad
Yeah.
George. uh he got stopped in that fight, but this kid is like he gets back out there and he comes like he knows how to pick himself back up. He knows what he's capable of doing. And he's just absolutely, I think he's just getting inspired. He was on that um, team, the team at Tiger Muay Thai with Peter Yan, with Alex
Yeah.
Volkanovski. He's trained with Shevchenko. He's Israel Adesanya. Like the guy has been in the gym with some of the biggest names in the sport right now. So you get a lot of, and I know how well he goes against all of those people. So it's he knows what he's capable of. He knows what he's capable of, and he's committed to it, and he's absolutely chasing.
Yeah, man. And I remember him getting that Ultimate Fighter spot. on that champion season for flyweights. But I think a lot of people don't understand. Like you mentioned earlier about him making his debut at lightweight, the dude's been fighting outside of his weight class for a long time and knocking dudes out. Like he's fought at bantamweight because he couldn't fight. I don't think he was able to find fights at flyweight, right, for a long time. Nobody wanted to fight him, so he had to fight at bantamweight and just knock dudes out cold. Yeah, and he's fought everywhere too, man. This guy, PXC, Kunlun, Legend FC, fucking Ryzen. He fought at He fought for Ryzen before he went to the UFC. Man, just much props to Kai, man. He traveled the globe before he even went to the UFC. And he was
it's like it's what you need to do there. Like he kind of went in there. He went into when he got to the UFC, he was already like a very well developed version of himself, and obviously he's made improvements and adjustments since then, and committed himself to city kickboxing like full time, and he's bought into the program and bought into the system, and the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, he's got a fucking like team. You know, he got the dietitian. Of course, he's got the coach of the city, but then he also has like a sports psychologist, and that's like all part of his team that he's kind of like assembled to become this fucking championship level fighter. And that's insane. Like it just shows you, like, if you're a guy that's coming up, like you want to get to that point where you're able to afford a sports psychologist and have every facet covered.
Yeah, it's about putting the right people in the right places, like and having a team around you that has got your back. Like I didn't find that until like you really come home. Like when I came home back to New Zealand, and just started putting the right people in the right places. Like that'll be the funny one when I do like my next fight, and they're like, "Oh, so what have you changed?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't change none of that. Like I changed me. I changed. like That's why I say like I take full responsibility for like my run, because I like the only person that can change it is me. Like my team is solid. The people that I have around me, my city kickboxing and my strength conditioning and all of that, like they're all solid. Like I wouldn't change a single. None of them made a mistake. Like I made a mistake, and that's like I don't know. Maybe it's like hard for a lot of people to admit that like they fucked it up. No one else fucked it up.
Yeah, I think that's a battle within yourself, right? Is like, because that word blame, you know, it could
get you in
fuck up a
trouble. Like
relationship. Yeah.
oh, 100%, like 100%. Like you go out there, you're gonna just like blame it on one of the people that goes out of their way to help you. Like that's gutless, you know. Take it on the chin.
And and I wonder, like, when fighters leave gyms, it's like, who are they blaming for some discrepancies in what's going on? I don't know. You know what I mean? Just that's
my
just
favorite one though. My
curious.
favorite one was when Robbie Lawler left American Top Team, and he went to Sanford, yeah.
Yeah.
But like Robbie Lawler left, and they go, it's a reporter, because Robbie, that he doesn't do not like, he says minimalist stuff in interviews. Like I think he just like hates it. You know, you get like that sense that he really doesn't like it. But he got asked like, why did you leave American Top Team? Blah blah blah, and like his response was plain and simple. He just says, because I'm a grown up and I made a decision. And the people asking the question were just like, oh, they took a step back and they were like, well, that's fair, right? He just said, I'm a grown up and I made a decision. And everyone else.
But then if you're but if you're like a reporter, you would ask him like, okay, the decision you made, like, where did it come from? Like, who did you consult with? You know what I mean? Like, you gotta dig into it a little bit more. But yeah, Robbie Lawler's the type of dude.
I think Robbie Lawler's like a hard guy to dig into. I feel like he's a very closed book.
Yeah, he's a different guy.
Penny did one of the because I did those watch along events.
Yeah.
You like watch along with the UFC with I did it with Jens Pulver. So I
Yeah.
like did it, and he had like Robbie Lawler on one of his, and he said, "Man, I was shocked, like, because Jens Pulver was known Robbie since for 20 years, you know." So he asked him to do it. He said, "Yeah," or you do it, jump on his podcast or something like that. And then at the end of it, like at the end of the interview, you go like, "Oh, so plug your how do people get a hold of you on Instagram or Twitter? Like, what are your handles?" He like asked Robbie Lawler that. Jens goes, "So how do people get a hold of you?" And he goes, "They can't." He's like, "Oh, well." He's like, "I don't like." He doesn't read none of it. He doesn't. He's not like. He mustn't be the man behind his social media whatsoever. That's pretty like that's
Yeah.
old school though. Like none of those guys
Yeah.
could give a flying shit about any of the stuff, any of the social media, Instagram pages, kind of stuff. That's very, yeah, like a very new age thing with fighting.
It is. It is a new age thing, you know. Like Robbie does come from that era of like, you know, I don't care. Like there was the Facebook or not Facebook, MySpace maybe at that time. You know what I mean? That's about it. So
Maybe
yeah,
when
I
he
understand.
started fighting, he's pre MySpace, Robbie Lawler.
Yeah. um, Another fight that was really good on the card was Davy Grant versus Louis Smolka. Man, Davy Grant, he looks like he's like 50 years old, but man, he fights like a young buck, doesn't he? The dude is
He
he
swings
has
like
some yeah.
everything he throws is like 100%. It's mad. It's mad. Like it's pretty cool to watch him. Nah, he did great. I think just too powerful for Lewis Smoker. Smoker was fighting at like flyweight for a long time,
Yeah,
wasn't
he
he?
was.
And then he's come back
Yeah.
into the UFC. But Davey just looked like he carried too much power for him, and he didn't have the enough pop in his jab or enough snap in his jab to keep. Um, we didn't. He couldn't get Grant's respect. You know, like in a fight, it's very important that you get your opponent's respect um, very early, so they don't just try to walk you down throwing power shots for the next 15 minutes. But yeah, he wasn't able to do that, and then Grant eventually wore through him.
If you look at his record, he was actually on a 2-fight losing streak, but his losses are to Marlon Vera, top 5 guy, and Adrian Yanez, who's probably one of the hottest like young prospects in that division coming up. But went to decision with both. So it shows you that this guy, his chin is solid. Maybe that's why he throws those hooks, man. His hooks are just like
The
from
2-3,
Jupiter.
2-3 does it. Whoa, whoa. They got some pop in him though. He's put some people in
They
body
do.
bags with him.
For real, yeah. So there was a nasty one. What is it, Martin Day, when he knocked out Martin Day? I think that's the one that they
Mm.
kept showing before the fight. Yeah, he starched him with that. Yeah, he's had some crazy. You know, I gotta respect guys that go in there and just put everything to every punch, man, and try to just fucking decapitate the other guy. But this
But
time he didn't really
everything,
need to.
every kick, everything, like
Mhm.
everything. He's just full power. He has one mode. It's
Mhm.
full power mode.
Fan friendly. That's what they want, right? He wants that fan friendly. So, yeah, how old is this guy? Oh, he's 36. So it's not too bad. Um, Luis Smolka, man, I think that was his like 4th loss in a row,
It
and
wasn't
this
a
is his.
good. This wasn't a
No,
good UFC event for the old dogs. Let's just put it that
no,
way.
it
There was
wasn't.
Smoker, Camacho, Hill.
Yeah,
It was a bad night. It was a bad night to be I consider a veteran.
definitely a veteran. Luis Smolka, definitely a veteran. Yeah, Luis Smolka not 4 in a row, 2 in a row. He's lost 2 in a row. Man, he was at one point gonna fight Sean O'Malley, and then I think he had to pull out of that fight. But other than that, man, he's been win loss win loss. So I think they'll give him another fight. They should, you know. What I mean, I don't, probably has one left in the contract. So let's give Luis Smolka one more fight. But yeah, Grant, I wonder where he goes. I think he's gonna fight somebody with an exciting style that he can knock out, or the other guy can
Yeah.
knock him out. I think that's what they're gonna build him against. You know what I mean? That's what they do. Ryan Spann versus Ion Cutelaba. Cutelaba, he's just a big ball of just
The Hulk.
energy,
Just
right?
it's a
Yeah,
big ball of testosterone. That man is that's an angry man.
he is. And then he goes in there and just gets fucking guillotined by Ryan Spann. But it had some good moments in that fight. He did up to that point.
He
But
was doing very well with the wrestling, yeah, for sure.
mhm.
But yeah, just got caught in that high elbow guillotine. Um, Spann must be on the same program as me. There's a 10 tap minimum before you let go of any submission. It's like tapping. I was like, what? I counted at
You gotta
least.
scream.
I counted at least 10. He tapped at
You
least
gotta
10. That was
scream.
10 solid taps.
You gotta
10 tap
scream. You
minimum.
just be like, imagine in a fight. I'm just saying this, but imagine in a fight like you couldn't tap, right? You've seen those submissions where they have both arms locked up with the legs, and then you're choking the guy or whatever.
You do
And you
the
can't
old feet.
tap, right?
You do the old feet stomp.
Well, would you be? I'm okay. Would it be more of would it be a bitch move to scream?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to get that clear answer. Would it be a bitch move to scream? Because
What kind of scream?
well, it's not gonna be a fucking Braveheart scream, but I'm just gonna tell you that right now.
But it's any like you make any noise, you yell out "fuck" and they can like technically they can stop it if you
Okay.
get an armbar or something. You go fuck, like they can stop it.
Be like, fuck. I
Fuck.
don't think they would.
You're trying to do like the hocus.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and
just
then
tap. It's easy.
they stopped. They stopped the fight. They're like, stop. You screamed like the Hulk, but they stopped the fight because they thought that you were injured or whatever. But yeah, I've seen people and like I think at live local shows where they have actually like screamed. You know what I mean? Like like they're caught in a Kimura and they didn't tap fast enough, and they're like like they would really scream like that. I'm just like, that must have fucking hurt because most fighters wouldn't scream at all, right?
It was
So
like my one was Makachev, and then they like had the replay, but when they showed because obviously Khabib was like cornering him,
mhm.
and then like he had the Kimura, and then I was thinking, I didn't think like from memory, I didn't tap or say like anything like that's my recollection of it. Just the ref saw how fucked up my arm was and was like, he just like made the right call. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was gonna snap, and I might have said,
Mhm.
I was thinking I might have gone, fuck, like damn it, like got me.
Mhm.
But I didn't tap or I didn't think I made a noise, but then all these people started saying like, oh, you scream from the video that came out, they were showing like a replay of it. Khabib was cornering him and Khabib was like mic'd up because they were coming at me and they were saying like, oh, you're screaming like a little bitch, screaming like a little bitch. And I was thinking, did I make a noise? But on the replay of the video, the ref, he gets the Kimura and then Khabib yells out. Khabib's like, yes, like celebrating. Khabib's like,
Mhm.
yeah. That's like what everyone thought that was me saying it. So they're saying like it's, but then it doesn't make any sense. They're like, you're screaming like
It
a little
doesn't.
bitch, and I'm like pointing. Oh, that might have been your hero that was making that noise. Like I didn't make that. That's it was just celebrating.
Your hero. Your national hero.
That's your
Uh,
national hero. Screaming like a
well,
what?
Habib was screaming so loud that it was picked up by other mics. Let's just say it like that, right? Like his scream is,
I think he had the
Braveheart
mic.
level.
I think he had the mic.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I
Well,
don't know. I can't even. I haven't even seen the. No one can find the. Yeah, I don't think I made a noise.
I don't think
I
you
might
made a
have.
noise either.
I think but I didn't make it because they didn't show the other camera angle when they were promoting, when they were like showing the replays in there.
Mm-hmm.
What did he fight again? Oh, for the Bobby Green fight, like they didn't show the
Yeah.
replay because I was like, fuck, I swear I didn't tap or make a noise. So I was like, technically the ref should let it break. That's
It
just.
was
I'm
it was
glad
a
he
referee
didn't.
stoppage.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad he didn't. Thank you. My shoulder greatly appreciates your kindness.
Mhm.
But
Would you ever be like, what would it take for you to be angry at a ref? Because you've seen guys like pissed off at refs and push them, and like some refs have been attacked. Like, did you see that one thing with Mark Goddard when he got attacked by that like little flyweight guy in Abu Dhabi or
oh
something?
yeah, I did see that. I don't know. I don't know. Refereeing's tough in any sport. Like it's like a thankless job. It's like when you do great, you don't. As a referee, if you do great, you don't get noticed, and if you
Mhm.
do bad, like people blame you for like everything. I don't know. I never take the referee really into account. Like I always feel like my favorite referees are the ones you don't notice. Like there was a show, so I did a show at my gym last night. That's why I'm a bit dusty this morning. We had a show at the gym last night, put on like a big event, had like 9 fighters. But like my message was to it, if you conduct like I know it's a fight, but you conduct yourself as gentlemen. I was like, you still conduct yourself as gentlemen. Don't. I said, if you hear my voice, you're doing something wrong. I said, I want to just not be part of it. I said, if you just conduct yourself as gentlemen, you don't go around breaking the rules, kicking each other in the nuts, doing all the silly shit. You won't even hear me. If you don't, you'll hear me jumping between rounds, going, yeah, time, yeah, you're ready, you're ready. Like that's it. I feel like a referee should kind of go more unnoticed because you do see these referees now, like every little thing, like it's like they want to be. There's some referees. It seems like they want to be on TV, right? Like they're like
Mhm.
every little thing. Stop! I need to talk to this person. I need to do the like. Just let the boys play. You know what I mean? Just just stay out of it. Let them sort it out.
And what about this guy? Remember this guy? Remember this guy?
Did he get fired? What's he doing? Nah,
Yeah,
isn't he?
he got banned, I think, by the UFC. He can't ref anymore
Oh,
for the
what's his
UFC.
name?
Uh, Yamasaki.
Mario Yamasaki.
Mario Yamasaki. Yes, Mario
Dana
Yamasaki.
banned him, eh?
I think so. That's the
I
rumor,
don't know.
right?
Yeah, it's a hard job. Herb's like the best. Herb's like, but even he's like made mistakes before. It's a pretty hard
Of
job to like
course.
not fuck up. It's
Everybody
like
makes mistakes.
it's so quick, and then like every decision you make has to be so decisive. It's like, and I guess the hardest one is like when to stop the fight.
Yeah.
That's like the hardest. That's like the hardest point as a referee.
What about the whole like, he should have let it go. It's a title fight.
Uh, it's a. You should have let him die. Make
Yeah,
sure he
it's a
never.
title fight.
Make sure this is the last title fight he ever has.
Exactly. Like, let
Nah,
him, let him.
yeah. I don't know, man. It's such a because that is like the real beauty of our sport is like when someone like pulls something back from defeat. Like that's like those are some of like the truly miraculous moments like in this.
It is.
Like what's that Pat Barry Czech Congo? Like if you would have
Yeah.
stopped that, you could have stopped
We would have
that.
never had it.
We would have never had it. You know what I mean? Like some of the
No.
best moments you get, like some of the best learning experiences you get yourself as a fighter is like when you push through that adversity or those difficult times in a fight and come out on top. Like that's some of the greatest memories that I like have as a fighter. So it's a difficult point to just like take that opportunity from a guy is hard. Refereeing so I would not want to be a referee.
No. Yeah,
It's a hard
that's
job.
something that is a very difficult job, and people do shit on them, and I probably shit on referees in the past too, and I probably will shit on a referee in the future. You know what I mean? It's just like people writing things about me online. It's just like whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just someone's opinion. I think, yeah, it's a problem when, like you said, the referee's trying to be on camera and trying to make a name for
Yeah,
himself. Like next
yeah.
thing you know, the fucking referee's gonna be wearing like personalized fucking uniforms and shit. What the fuck's gonna happen with that? You know what I mean? They're looking
I bet
like
they
Bruce
would if they
Buffer out
could.
there.
They would if they.
Yeah, they
They
would.
would if they
They be
could.
wearing patches and shit. You know what I mean? They fucking got their website on the chest. You know what I mean? Like that's what they be doing, trying to sell some shit. But that's the world we live in, though, Dan. We live in a world where every opportunity that you have, a lot of people are going to take the opportunity and try to fucking squeeze as much as they can out of it possible, especially like with social media and online and TV and whatever or not. But I wanted to ask you about your fucking bucket list thing from last night. Like what
Yeah,
happened
that
with
was.
that?
It went really well. So I actually it's been running in New Zealand, in a different part of New Zealand, in Dunedin, with Matt Toa for a long time now, and then he's encouraged me to start it up in New Zealand. And it's similar, like if people haven't heard of bucket list, it's like Winter Warrior. It's like anyone can sign up, and you do. I think it's 14 weeks of training, and at the end of the 14 weeks of training, you get out there and you have an MMA fight. So it was nervous the first one, because I assigned this to, obviously I've been like traveling around in a bit, so I knew that I couldn't run this one myself. So I gave it to my fighter Aaron Toe, who fights this Friday for the XFC featherweight title. Anyway,
Oh, he's going for champ.
He's going champ. So he's the bantamweight champ for XFC, and then I jacked him up with the XFC featherweight title. So we're going champ.
All right.
Different topic. But he was running this entire event. So it's like a pretty big deal. He's got an event on this weekend, and then he fights Friday. So he fights like a few days' time. So it's like he's been running around organizing this, put on an incredible event. It was 9 fights and only one. I insisted I referee it just because I didn't trust anyone else to referee. Like I just wanted to, not that I didn't trust, but like I know the fighters. Like I know, I kind of like have some understanding of their backgrounds and stuff like that. So there's like some fights you would stop very early, and then others you can like let the boys play a bit more, So I was like, I wanted to be the referee just so I had a bit more control. Made sure no one got hurt. Made sure no one was seriously injured. So we got out. It was only one TKO. All the other fights, great fights. They all went to decisions. But yeah, these people were nuts. We had no.
Cool.
Yeah, they had a fight. All these 9 people. There were nine fights. Like people.
Like they're feeling it this morning, huh?
Oh, they're feeling it. Because it's like their bucket list. They're gonna do it once. Like they're gonna do it for those pictures. They're gonna do it for their memory. So I said, like, I would prefer that they all wear like shin pads and have like a padded. I said, I understand that some of you like really are against it. So I'm gonna go around ask them all individually. I didn't have. We had 8 unpadded fights. I'll probably catch a bit of shit for that once Matt Toa finds that out. But it was a good night. Like no one was serious, not a cut. No one was seriously injured. But the funny one was about it was they all walking around limping after the fight. That was like the funny thing. They all walking around limping after the fight, and I walked up to all of them and I said, "It's not such a good idea now, is it?" I said, "It was smart. You wanted to look tough in front of your mates about an hour ago, but I think you're regretting it now." It's the worst. It's the worst. Like the fight hurt. This is what the people don't understand. Like it feels the exact same like in the fight, but after, the difference between having a shin pad on and having it like not having a shin pad on is just incredible. It's like it hurts so much more after the fight in like an unpadded fight compared with the padded fight. But there was some gunfights.
Fuck.
Definitely looking forward to that. Putting that on.
Yeah, maybe that should be my next adventure, is to go down to New Zealand and train at your gym for 14 weeks and then fight.
I can put you on the bucket list. I can put you on the bucket list, brother.
We'll see what happens with this one. You know what I mean? Like, because this one I'm gonna do unpadded. I'm gonna fight unpadded, no shin guards, MMA gloves. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's bucket list, right? So fucking throw it in the air.
It's bucket list. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's why I let them do it. Like, because the other ones are padded event. Like Winter Warriors, like a full shin pads and rash guards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's their bucket list, right? Like they're gonna do it once. You're gonna want the picture to be you're gonna want the picture to be good, right? You're doing
Yeah.
it. The people out here doing it for the gram. Let them do it for the gram.
Exactly, man. You have that for the rest of your life. You know, you have that to show your kids, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's something cool that I'm glad a lot of gyms are starting to offer it more. You know what I mean? It's more accessible to just like go in there, train and get good guidance and them matching up really well with somebody and see what happens. You know, it's very interesting, man, that more and more people are starting to do it, which is cool. But it's funny
Oh,
that
they're like
the people
the
that are
interest
doing it,
around it.
yeah,
They're like interest around it is incredible. Like people like next year is probably already sold out. The amount of people that were like,
yeah.
yeah, no, I'll get there. I'll give that a go next time. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, you get that energy. You get that energy from people. Like if you're actually at the shows, you get that energy. And you know what was I gonna say is like it's funny that people that are actually doing these bucket list things are people that are not have nothing to do with the sport. They're just like most of them are just like regular people that might watch some fights, you know what I mean? Some of them might be, you know, like really into it, but like a lot of the people are not like in the sport, you know, like you and
Well,
me.
it's like a it's not like practical for them to like yeah. If you were to, it's like different because if you were to like actually just show up at a gym, just start training, like progress up, like to get yourself to for me to like get a guy ready for an MMA fight. Um, this takes years. Like it takes
Yeah.
years of time. Like people just practically don't have the time to or like the will. They have a full-time job. They've got families. They can't do that. But you for 12 weeks, for 13 weeks, 14 weeks, like people can make the sacrifices then if they're guaranteed that they're going to have that opportunity to get out there and compete. And like I would say, most of the guys have trained, like of course they're fight fans, but they've trained in the past, off and on, like here and there. Um, so they have like a bit of experience, like training experience. But that 12-week commitment to get in shape and get out there for a fight is, it's like a unique opportunity. But I think it like needs to be there. That need
Yeah.
like you need to offer that like civilian to cage fight
Yeah.
as like a possibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then one of your mates is always sitting around talking shit about it, like, oh, I would do. Well, 12 weeks you could. You could stop talking all this shit every weekend watching UFC, or you could. And then they'll go, nah, don't worry about that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like to be like, even if you don't fight, I think just go through 14 weeks of that training will change you. Even if you don't fight, like just going through the 14 weeks of just like just getting a
100%.
fucking little smidget of taste of what a real fighter like goes through, just a smidget. You know what I mean? That 14 weeks is a smidget, right? Like you've dedicated years, most of your life to this craft. These guys are 14 weeks. It's fucking like for you guys, it's like nothing. It's like it just passes by. For them, it's the 14 years of their life. It's like fuck, dude. Like I gotta fucking go in there, wake up, and then you have to prepare yourself for fucking like getting your ass beat, possibly getting your ass beat by somebody when you step into that gym. You know what I mean? Like they need to understand. I think people need to like if you cover the sport. I'm not saying you have to fight, but I think if you went to a 14, let's fucking fly every fucking media member into Dan's gym for 14 weeks.
Bucket
They don't even
list.
have to fight. They just go through the 14 weeks of training with
Media
Dan.
edition. Nah, they
The
have to.
media.
This Fight Club. You have to fight.
Yeah, you just make them live in the basement. Just fucking find some
It's pretty
underground
cool. Like
fucking
it's pretty
room.
cool because they're all like trained together in like bucket list. They all train together, and they didn't know who they were like actually gonna fight. Obviously, people get like a bit of a gauge of who they're like similar size and experience and stuff. But they didn't know. They didn't find out till they got to the weigh-in. So they got their names called out at weigh-in. Was like when they found out who their opponent was going to be, which was like pretty cool. I was like, that was like Aaron lifted up to that. I know on the other bucket list, like they do it like a little earlier. I thought Aaron was going to have a few more pullouts, but now we only had it was only one pullout on fight week a wiggly tooth. He was eating a chicken nugget, but down too hard on the chicken nugget, and then his tooth started to go wiggly. So he went to the dentist. Said that he would lose his tooth if he had a fight. I said, wouldn't you rather go around telling girls you lost your tooth in a fist fight as opposed to eating chicken nuggets? I said, isn't that like a far better story? Oh, well, I had this fist fight. I was fighting this guy. He caught me with a punch. Like, oh, my tooth came out. Are we going to go around telling girls, I was eating chicken nuggets, crunched a chicken nugget too hard and lost my tooth? Oh, well, everything's not for everyone.
Not the chicken nugget flex, you know what I mean?
Not the chicken nugget. But now, bloke's going to get called chicken nugget for the rest of his life. I don't know. If Chicken Nugget thinks that I'm ever going to forget about this, he's sorely mistaken.
If you're really a real dick, you know what I mean? Like you make some fucking like t-shirts with the chicken nugget with the tooth in the middle, you know what I mean? And just fucking hand them out and be like,
we'll get him.
Support the man.
We'll get him.
Come on, support him.
I'm
it's cool.
I'm gonna stack toilet paper up at the entrance of the gym and just give everyone a wrap a minute before he gets in.
That's great, man. That's great that you guys had a good show, you know what I mean? And people fought and enjoyed it. That's community too, like you said earlier about gyms and shit, like around the world, like building communities and having a good time by punching each other in the face. Why the fuck not?
It was very cool, but it was like
last
couple hundred. It was like 200-300 people.
Wow.
I didn't have a single security guard, and we didn't have any kind of problem. So it was a good event.
Yeah, definitely. Last week there was all this like lightweight movement and shit, and there was a lot of talk going around during the last week.
Everyone was arguing. I said, stay out of it. Everyone's had enough of me. They said, stay out of it. I stayed out of it.
Yeah.
There's a few times I wrote some things up and I was going, I want to press send on this so bad, but I got told, stay out of it.
Stay out of it. Yeah, well, a lot of people are like saying like, hey, like they were like throwing your name into some matchups, right? So did you see any of that? Like people throwing your name into some of the matchups coming out of UFC 274?
I saw like Tony Ferguson. That's like the only one I really saw. But it's like,
would that be a good fight?
Got knocked out.
Yeah, but I think
he just got knocked out.
I think he'll probably be back by the end of the year, or even probably earlier. You know what I mean? But yeah, like calling him out is like something that's like, what's the point?
We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it when he like, when the bloke wakes up. Like I'm not.
But there's also a lot of like talk about like you rematching Poirier. A lot of people want to see that shit, man. Like it's pretty. Like I've noticed it a lot. Like people really wanting to see that eventually. You know what I mean? I don't know the next fight, but
I gotta get a couple of wins.
And
wins.
Nate Diaz. What about Nate Diaz? Like, oh yeah, now I want to fight Chandler, and that's the fight I want. And it's like, what? Like, what?
He's a smart man. Like he goes in for like the highest reward fight he can like possibly get his hands on. Like he comes back, he beats Chandler, he gets a title shot, right? Like at what weight division he possibly wants. Like if he fights Chandler at 170, Nate Diaz will probably get a title shot off of that. Like, or it puts him, isn't he on like the last fight of his contract or something?
Yeah. So basically, what the UFC probably would try to do is like renegotiate and try to sign him to a couple more fights, which he probably doesn't want. So he's just trying to find, like, what about him pissing at the UFC PI?
He's pissing in the bush. You know what I mean? Like,
that's not a flex.
He hasn't had like a cheeky piss we're not supposed to piss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I think that was one of the ones I had, ooh, look at the badass over here.
Yeah.
When people like drive past the cops and they're like this. Like, you're not really doing anything wrong, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, he's going around calling everyone's a dumbass. It's like, well, you signed the same contract I signed, so
Yeah, it's to me, it's like people are like, yeah, he's so like anti UFC, and it's like, yo, like the dude pissed in a bush behind a trash can is like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people pissed in that bush behind that trash can because humans, especially dudes, we're known to piss pretty much anywhere, right? I've seen dudes like piss in the middle of traffic, like just
hey,
anywhere. Just it's
you know
been
what I
done.
mean?
It's nothing new,
Wasn't
right? So
wasn't crime was hardly crime of the century. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. What about those sensitive Sallys out there? Just like, oh, you should be arrested for indecent exposure. And okay, okay,
What the fuck?
okay, yeah. Just there's people out there like that, man. Like it
You
just
never
goes
pissed in a
the
bush.
whole like. I
It's
guess
like one of the
not.
most practical places to piss, though. It's a
I
it's like a
know.
plant. It's like a plant. It will absorb it. You know what I mean?
How how many dudes have pissed in their own fucking bush and the bathroom is right inside their fucking house? How many
I
dudes
piss.
have done that?
Always piss in my bush. It's a
Exactly.
good place to piss. It feels more natural. Giving back to nature.
Yeah, just add some, extra minerals to the plant, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it helps it grow, all that good stuff. But yeah, just it's
Sterile.
funny. Like Nate Diaz, like the Diaz Army fans versus like the Habib fans, you know what I mean? Like they have equal levels of delusion, I feel. Like they
Yeah.
do. Like it's just the level of delusion from that fan base is almost, yeah, it is equal. You know what I mean? Like last week we talk about like good stuff about Islam. All they want to do is talk about like this guy don't know anything. Like that's where it goes. Like I'm like Islam. You said Islam he's probably gonna get the next title shot in Abu Dhabi. That's what's gonna happen. It's logical. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is. We're talking good shit, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then something about Habib. Like, what did Habib do? Oh yeah, he tweeted something, and then like they took that and said like, oh, you guys are haters of Habib. Now I'm like now I'm like starting to feel like I should just run with that. I should just run with like being the Habib hater, right? Like just be like hate Habib, even though he was perfect in his career, right, in his record. And they're like, he never bleed, he never got cut, he never got, like they started doing all that shit. It's so funny, man.
Oh
So from
man.
now on, if you're
Why
not
stay out of
watching
the
this,
comments?
yeah, it's funny, man. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. Like my coworkers will send me snapshots of comments. Like there was a good one. There was a good one. Like when my hair was a little bit longer, I was like growing it and shit. Somebody wrote like, "Oh, JHK went from, uh, like something like what is it? Oh, anime character to fucking middle-aged Japanese like businessman." You know what I mean? Like just because my
You're
hair
coming,
was like
you're
longer.
coming up in the world. You're coming up in the world now. You got haters. Just shitting on you for everything you say. Like it comes. Honestly, it come to a point. It came to a point where I just don't. I just
Mhm.
can't. I just post something and leave. Like I just can't deal with it because yeah, it's like people are just unreasonable. Like they just hate you. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like I've got no problem with it. But like that, there's no reasoning with them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So then why even waste your time? And it's just like, and I think it's human nature as well. You're like 90% of stuff is just like super positive, but it's like
Yeah.
that small percentage of stuff that's like negative, like the human brain gravitates towards that. Like there'll be 100 nice comments and one bad one in there, and like your brain gravitates to that one negative thing someone said about you. So yeah, it's easier to kind of just avoid that. And then that people who I run into in real life are like, oh, did you see all that mean stuff people say about you? And I'm just like, nah, like I deal with people in
Yeah.
reality, like face to face. It's like, and you'd be surprised how the small amount of people that's come up to a UFC veteran and say negative stuff to them in real life. Like it just doesn't happen. People don't say that stuff
Yeah.
because I'll punch you in the throat. People don't say that stuff to me in real life because there's not a computer screen now between like you and me. So it's like as long as you stay positive, I try to only share positive stuff out. You try to. It gets taken negatively. You try to only share out positive stuff
Yeah.
and just deal with things in reality. And I feel like life is a lot easier like that.
Well, I think I'm old enough and been through enough things in my life to where comments don't fucking bother me. But yeah, it's good. Like if you like you said, if there's people like writing bad comments about you, you must be doing something right. So I guess it's all good. Whatever. They could say whatever the fuck they want, man. Like the sticks and stones, you know what I mean? Sticks and stones, you know what I mean? Like that's what it is. Like I don't give a fuck about it. I laugh at a lot of the stuff, because it's kind of hilarious, man. Like how dumb people are. You know what I mean? Like some people are fucking stupid, like fucking idiots, like completely retarded. But yeah, it's fun. What was I gonna say? Fuck, I was gonna say something when you were talking about fucking. You see, that's the worst fucking part. Like when you know you're gonna talk
Talk you
about some
out.
shit.
And
Oh, that's right.
we're gonna leave the show like that. Just be like, I forgot about
No,
the
no,
real
I
cool
remember.
subject I was gonna
I'm just happy that my daughter and my wife, they don't really care about like what I do. You know what I mean? Like not really care, but they don't like pay attention to what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So if like people are writing bad comments, like they would not have any idea that that's even happening, cuz I don't even talk to them about it, and they don't go online and look for my stuff and like read it and shit like that. So it's kind of that's kind of good, cuz I don't want my daughter coming up and be like, what is this person saying? You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh shit, I got to explain this to her, you know what I mean? Like but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This guy
It's
said that. You're off. Like, fuck.
you're
Maybe I'll have
fucking.
with
What
it.
is fuck?
And then
What the
my
fuck?
ultimate plan is to once I finish, retire, just delete all social media accounts and just carry on with life.
I think that's harder, like said than done. You know what I mean? To be able to delete all of that stuff, it's hard,
Oh,
man. After you
of
built it
course,
for so long,
of course, of
like I
course.
think a lot of people, it's just very difficult. What's fucking next weekend, man? We got a couple minutes left. Let's see what fucking next weekend we got.
Holly Holm.
That's right, Harley Holmes.
That was a good
Yeah,
card
Holly
today.
Holm
Like
and Caitlin
kind
Vieira.
of top to bottom. It was like pretty some interesting fights. Who they got? Who they got next week?
Oh, they got main event Holly Holm versus Caitlin Vieira, probably fighting for the next title shot. Um, Hopefully one of them. I don't know. That'll be like Holly Holm's like 19th title shot. She's had more title shots, I think, than anybody, even more than Uriah Faber.
You reckon? You're right. I don't think they're the
Yeah.
most.
Well, at least Holly Holm won the title. You know what I mean? Like Uriah never actually
Mm.
got his hands on the title. Holly Holm won the title, lost the title, and then kept fighting for titles. And she's fought for titles in two different weight classes, from bantamweight to featherweight. But they love Holly Holm. You know what I mean? The UFC loves her for some reason. And if
What do you
she
mean for
wins this,
some
I
reason? It's
guarantee.
because they just show the Ronda Rousey knockout that everyone saw. That's like
You
that
think that's
changed her
still
life.
good?
That's still good. Like people still remember that.
Yeah. I still remember it. I'm just saying,
that's
like,
like a moment. That's like a moment in time. Like everyone remembers watching that fight and just being like, "What the fuck?" Like that
yeah.
is
Were you
ridiculous.
there?
Nah, I was at home. I watched it at home.
You was
That
at
was
home? Because that
in
was in Australia, right?
yeah, that was in
Yeah.
Australia.
That was in
I think I
Australia.
just got back from Thailand and I couldn't be bothered.
I couldn't be bothered. Well, I think it's to be honest with you, like watching fights, it's cool to be there in certain areas of the arena. You know what I mean? Like it's not just cool to be there like in being there, but in certain areas of the arena to watch the fights. But it's nice to be home too. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
once the
yeah,
fights
for
are
sure.
over, you turn it off and you're at
Carry
home.
on with your shit. Carry on with your shit
Exactly.
for
You know
sure.
what I mean? You just do what the fuck you want to do. So it's interesting. Let's see some other matchups here. We got Michelle Pereira's fighting Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think that's a pretty good matchup. That's a co-main event right there.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight.
I remember watching Michel Pereira fight live before he got signed to the UFC a few years back, and he did 15 backflips to the cage because the straightaway to the cage was just one log straightaway from the stage. He did motherfucking 15 backflips and then went and whooped someone's ass. Who is this fucking guy? Like,
I'll be exhausted. Nah, like I remember watching him before he got signed to UFC, doing some wild shit, backflipping in fights, like cartwheels, like that's all wild shit. He's definitely like settled it down, like his last
yeah,
couple of fights.
yeah. So, but he still has it in him, you know, where he wants to do it. But he realized that like these guys are not playing at this level. Like you can't be
Nah,
doing that
you
shit.
can't.
You go fight a fucking convenience store clerk and do 15
Yeah,
backflips, but
yeah,
these
you can
guys will
do that.
fucking rip your fucking head off. You know what I mean? Who else is up here? Ooh, we got Chase Hooper. You know what I mean? A little young up and coming buck. That's an interesting that's an interesting look for the UFC and even Chase Hooper. Like he's so young, but it's clear that he hasn't developed, I think, enough in his skills to like actually fight in the UFC.
I
Because I
thought you
think
meant like his actual body, like his actual body hasn't
that's
developed.
another thing. That's another thing. You know, like there's that thing about like you go from your like teenage body to like the man body, but he's kind of clearly stuck in the teenage body. You know, like when you were like 16, 17, like you'd go to the lakeside house and, you know, girls would be impressed because you're skinny, you know what I mean? But that's the body he has. He hasn't got into the man body yet. He hasn't become the man version of himself as a fighter. I wish like he would go and like fight a little bit lower level of talent and develop himself more and then come back
Yeah,
to the
you have to
UFC.
do that. You have to do that outside of the UFC. You can't do that in the UFC. Like that's
Well,
the
I think that's
UFC
what they're
is
trying to
not for
do.
development.
It's not. It's like sink or swim, motherfucker. And then they give you a fucking 10-pound kettlebell. You know what I mean? The 20-pound kettlebell and say sink or swim, motherfucker. You in SEAL training. Yeah, it's just Chase Hooper, he's a good like character. He's not even a character. It's just who he is. You know what I mean? Like he's who he is, and it's great to see that. It's just like how like they need to like. That's why we have contender series. That's why we have all these things
Mm.
for for him to develop. But it is what it is, man. Anyways, next week's card, I think it's gonna surprise us. There's gonna be some good fights on there as well. Everybody else, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Dan, we'll see you next week, buddy.
You will.